Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day for you, your family, loved ones, everyone, of course, involved. But more importantly here, we're going to take a look, of course, at Ethereum, see what's going on, help us understand best practice, big picture, and really just truly understand the next steps here for this coin. Now, when I say next steps, we're talking an over-exhaustive state that we've seen so far. We're at 9 red candles in a row. And yesterday we had a doji that was supposed to signal a reversal, but nothing's happened yet. Once again, there's a Fed meeting today. We're going to learn more very soon what's going to happen with the market. But for the moment, that's essentially where we're at. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I love teaching people to trade. I hope you can learn something here today. Please, if you consider becoming a community member, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. If you want to learn how to trade more effectively, more, consistently, I have a trading academy. I send out signals for every trade that I take, as well as an amazing community we can all learn and grow together. Awesome experience. So taking a look here at Ethereum, so just to acknowledge the obvious stuff here. We've got the 50-day SMA working its way down, as well as a 20. Both of those are essentially concurrent with these trend lines that are moving down. So we could expand this trend line here and go all the way down here and pretty much just see that we're a long ways away from the price action breaking above. In other words, if we get sideways price action for the next 2 months, at that point, we would eventually have broken above this trend line. And this trend line is the most important thing to kind of acknowledge, just based on the simple fact that it's signaling the fact that we're still in a bearish trend. Okay. Now, for us to break that, we got to get back up above there and create a higher high, essentially, or a higher low for starters. We're not there yet, of course, but generally speaking, that's what we want to look for. So just keep that in mind. Moving forward as well, when it comes to RSI, we're extremely overextended here. In fact, you look at Ethereum's history, we've only seen the RSI down below back during the just before COVID and at COVID. In other words, we saw some extreme circumstances there, of course, but in both times, if you look at the price action, it did recover shortly after the RSI was overextended past 30. In other words, you take a look here within, what is it? Right here. The price action recovered, came down, and then RSI is over 30, and it came up right here. Not implying that we're going to see the price action increase from here, but what we should expect or anticipate is the price going sideways. If it were to come down, maybe just come down a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll look at some key level supports here so you understand what the levels might look like. Because keep in mind here, if we see the price continue lower from Bitcoin, we should expect somewhere in the range of, and this is basically the low here from before, right around $900, be a support level moving forward. Okay. Now, again, that's pretty close to this Fibonacci retracement of 936. So in that sense, I would say a good dollar cost average would be, a good target would be 930, 940, somewhere in that range, just so you can kind of get filled. In fact, it came really close to that. It came down about 1018 earlier today. So is there a guarantee we're going to see that? No, but I think it's a pretty strong likelihood we will see somewhere in that line tested, because once again, 900 for Ethereum is very similar and synonymous in a lot of ways with Bitcoin at 20,000, which is a key level support based on previous all-time highs. So that's kind of where we're at there in that sense. Also, furthermore, to kind of acknowledge, we also have this little tiny shelf here. If we look here, where the price action kind of went sideways before it was able to break above. So that's right around 665, 670, somewhere in that range. And that could be the next key level support if we lose 900. Okay. So again, we'll just go ahead and put that on the charts here. So we have that for later, just in case. All right. So that's kind of what our extreme worst case scenario would look like. I would say that, somewhere in the range of 900, but also a support level close to 700, right in the 680, 690 range. Okay. Now, taking a look at some of the standard stuff, we've already acknowledged that RSI is on its way down. And what we need to acknowledge, one last thing here as well, is that it could work as resistance when it comes back up. Sometimes that does happen, but the bottom line is getting back up over 30 on the RSI is going to be extremely important. We can also see here as well that we've got a MACD divergence again. Of course, this little bullish trend that we saw here recently came to an end abruptly. Obviously, you've seen the last few trading days. Again, the MACD on the daily right now, not super important to acknowledge. We may want to consider looking at the larger MACD time frame, and we can see we're still on this bearish type of downtrend for the monthly. Okay. You could probably see the same thing on the weekly as well, where it just continues to go lower and lower. And once again, haven't seen that kind of price point in quite some time, if ever, right? So again, extremely over-exhaustive state, but all things considered, Ethereum was overinflated at its highest point, close to 5,000. So there's no doubt about that. So again, good value for Ethereum. Feel free to dollar cost average and add to your position. I don't think that's a terrible idea. But at this point, I think that we should expect the price action overall to go sideways or down from here. And that would be a realistic expectation. Taking a look at the 4-hour, see if there's anything really to extract here. We see a lot of volume in the recent past, which is another good sign here. I think we've seen the most amount of volume from Bitcoin this week since we have seen since 2017. So we're hitting all sorts of records that are kind of touching close to the 4-year cycle. And it's interesting how it's working out, but it's happening almost to a T in a lot of ways. And Ethereum's following suit too as well. Again, even though it's overextended and it does have a tendency of being kind of 2 or 3x from Bitcoin, it's overextending itself, so to speak, to the downside. We should expect to see the price action balance out and level out here, somewhere between the low 900s upwards of 1400. I would say that we're going to probably be range bound for some time here, either A, until we break above this key level resistance based on the previous descending trend line, or we potentially break down lower based on the simple sentiment that the world and the market is crap and everything's going to crap. Insert whatever words you want there, but generally speaking, we're in a bearish type of downtrend for the traditional market. The traditional market is down 23% since the beginning of the year. And anything over 20% usually signals a bearish type of market. Okay, so the traditional market's bearish. Obviously, we're in a bearish market here with Ethereum and Bitcoin. So, you be the judge here. How much lower can it go? It can go much lower. It's a secondary market. Cryptocurrency is that market. But we also need to acknowledge the fact that, hey, we're hitting these exhaustive states right now. People are starting to feel that this is good value. That's what the relative strength index does, is it tells us that, hey, based on the relative strength of the last 14 candlesticks, we can tell that we're overexhausted or the other way around. Okay, right now we are extremely pushed to the downside, and I wouldn't say that we should expect the price to shoot back up, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slight increase in the relative near future to try to retest some of these levels. Again, the likelihood of the price action going down from here is also equally as high. I know it sounds completely contradictory, but we have to acknowledge the fact that we're still in a downtrend, and until that changes, we have that confirmation, we're going to expect the price to go lower. But should it go much lower than this right now? The answer is no, it shouldn't, based on how overextended we are. And just let me show you some of that overextension here. If you take a look at TD sequential, when you hit a 9 on TD sequential, it's supposed to reset and turn around. Specifically more so on the 4-hour. We saw a 9 here, extreme overtime, come over, got a reset, came back down to another 7, and we're down to a 6 again. So in truth, we shouldn't have seen the price action go much lower than 1700. But obviously with the state of everything that happened on Friday, of course, with the Fed rate and the CPI data, all that stuff is kind of coming to a head and pushing things down. So we went from like a 15 on fear and greed index to like an 8. So we haven't seen this kind of index in years, and it's just a crazy nonsensical thing. I think the last time it was COVID, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that was a couple years ago, but that was another world event that caused the market to go down. We're seeing world events right now happening all the time, and it's pushing the price action down. So as much as we'd like for this decentralized currency to be free and clear of any type of traditional stock market movements, it shouldn't be connected, but it is. We got to recognize that and be okay with it, and just come to terms with the fact that this is the reality of the market and the way that it goes. Taking a look at the 1 hour though, we can see we're getting close-ish, but we're not there yet, to the cloud. Of course, you can see a rejection here by the cloud as well, but the lagging span is free and clear of price action right now. So for lack of better terms, a long position would be disadvantageous to consider, but so would a short too as well, because there's not a tremendous amount of room here. Again, if the price does continue lower and we see anything under 1,000, then the lagging span would be free and clear, and you'd want to keep your short position open. So by no means am I telling you to close your short position. I'm just saying that it's getting kind of close, and recently we had this signal that if you had a short position open, you'd want to have closed it, but we did see a little bit of a relief recovery here. All right, so long story short on this one here, we really don't see any good indication to take a long position just yet, even though everything is extremely overextended and we shouldn't experience to come much lower. The Fed meeting is today. we should hear soon, based on Powell's words, what we're going to, what's going to happen. Like, is the direction of the market going to change based on what he says? There's a great chance it will, because it already has, right? But now, is the CPI data from Friday baked into the current price point right now? I would say yes. In general, we shouldn't expect the price to come tremendously lower from here. Just based on the law of averages, we need to average our price out, build a stronger volume at this price point, right at these previous key level supports. Okay, so it just makes sense that the price will go sideways and maybe a little up, or at least just more so range bound between, once again, 900 and 1400. I think we're going to start seeing some pretty interesting movements within those ranges soon. Excited to see what happens. So we'll look forward to touching base tomorrow to see what kind of turmoil we experience as a result of the Fed meeting. It's crazy that something so fickle can cause such a big ripple. I actually kind of rhymed. I like that. Anyways, regardless of that fact, that was not the whole point, but I hope that you learned something here today, and the point is for you to essentially become a better trader. So I hope you can extract something from what I just talked about here today. If you need to watch it a second time, I get it. I talk kind of fast sometimes. Apologize. I just like to drive certain points home because there's a lot of things that factor in, not just the TA that we see here. Okay, there's a lot more going on in the world. So thank you so much for joining me here. If you're not currently a community member, CryptoCache.tech is a site. Once again, if you want to become a better trader, got a trading academy, signal group, and of course an amazing community at your back. Good stuff. Great times. Thank you so much for joining me here. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next one.